Gentlemen, welcome to another Palavi Market Research video. Today, I'm going to be talking about M&A. What is it, and how does it work? How do people make money doing it? And I'm going to outline a case study of how this shit goes down, okay? Because mergers and acquisitions, which is what M&A is something you kind of hear about. It's like in those Wall Street movies, right? Maybe you've like grown up in the New York City ecosystem and you've met people who say they work in finance and they vaguely say that they do mergers and acquisitions and that they don't really elaborate further, right? So this video is for you if you're wondering what the heck this is. Now, a merger is the consolidation of two or more companies to create a new entity, right? It refers to the process of combining companies, okay? Whereas an acquisition is the purchase of another entity. And really, it means that you're acquiring ownership of 51% of a company, which is something you can do with publicly traded companies, right? You can't do with private companies unless you buy their assets, right? So if you take over the assets of the company by purchasing them, so like if there's a private company that owns a resort, a hospital, a school, and you buy up all those assets from them and then you consolidate it into one company, that's a way of acquiring a private company. But it's pretty simple, a lot more straightforward with a publicly traded company because all its financials are public and you only need 51% of the shares to have a full controlling interest of that company. Okay. And basically, like to control voting rights, things like that, right? Now, there are four types of mergers and acquisitions. Technically, there's five. There's a horizontal integration. So you know how you talk about horizontal and vertical integration in business. So this is basically that. So if you're merging or acquiring another company that helps you achieve that horizontal integration, right? And then with a vertical, you're partnering, acquiring, merging with companies that are helping you vertically integrate your business. Okay. Now then there's conglomerates, right? So if you're like this would be like Apple buying Ford, if they wanted to start selling cars or something and make an aggressive move along those lines, right? And concentric is where customers share customer bases but provide different services and do not have a mutual relationship. So that could be like Netflix buying a production studio, right, in Hollywood. Now, there is another one, and it's pretty much when a company buys another company or merges with another company to extend their market reach. So, market extension, their customer base, right? Which is the example that we're going to be talking about later in the video. But the M&A process is actually really like there's not a lot of rules here, guys. This is the Wild West. It's really really interesting. So you as an analyzer like of the marketplace can find a opportunity, right? And if you find the opportunity and you're able to back it up, right? And basically target your acquirers, you're able to make a case and make a proper document outlining the reasons why this should happen and you're able to market it and set up those meetings, then you are able to make these deals happen, right? You don't, it obviously helps to be a part of a big investment banking shop, the Goldman Sachs's, the Morgan Stanley's, Lehman Brothers, like all these types of businesses are the types of businesses that engage in activity like M&A, mergers and acquisitions, right? Now, the traditional M&A fee formula charges 5% for the first $1 million of transaction value, 4% of the second million, third on the 3% of the third million, 2% fourth million, and then 1% on everything above that. That is like the traditional M&A fee formula. So we'll talk about example there and how much money you can make with these types of deals if you understand how to do them correctly because it's all fee based, right? You are paid like upon the completion of the acquisition, a percentage of the acquisition value, okay? Now, let's look at the 11 largest mergers and acquisitions transactions in history. And at the top here, you'll notice Vodafone. Vodafone and Mannesmann, that acquisition, okay? That's what we're going to be highlighting in this video, right? Now, if you saw a few videos back, we published our second stock report, I should say, on Vodafone and their current, their current equity, their stock that's traded on, in London, I guess. But back in 1999, this was, and like to this day, I guess, remains like one of the largest acquisitions in history. And this was Vodafone PLC hostily taking over Mannesmann AG. Okay. It was a $202.8 billion acquisition that wrapped up in 2000, but it was a huge deal at the time, and it also just reshaped like global telecommunications world because this was just a giant takeover, like I was referring to earlier, as a market extension merger, right? Now, if we look at these companies and their financials back when this acquisition was taking place, Vodafone was really, really healthy. They had a really nice profit margin. You can see that they had um, $419 million of profit with only $2.47 billion worth of revenue, which is huge for this type of business, right? And so they were trading at a really hot, nice multiple there, right? 85 billion against that revenue is a crazy multiple for a business like this. So they knew this, and they knew that they had this moment in time to take advantage of a company that was seriously underperforming in the stock market, at a much lower multiple. So we can see here $11.94 billion worth of revenue, and this is all British pounds, guys. That's what GBX stands for. And you can see that it's a lot thinner of a business, right? So they have a lot more revenue, right, than Vodafone, and a lot more assets than Vodafone, but a lot less profit, right? So they're 1/4 the amount of profit. So they're able to create massive revenue, but they're not able to extract that much from it, okay? Because really they're dependent on less subscribers. They have 9.6 million like monthly subscribers who are buying like their Wi-Fi bills, their phone bills, those types of things from these companies, right? And Mannesmann was primarily based in Germany, but they covered 3 countries. And Vodafone at the time of this deal was actually in 24 different countries with 29 million subscribers paying them something per month, right? Because they're paying for some essential utility like Wi-Fi, phone, shit like that, right? So this multiple, as you can see, is like basically a 3.5, 3.3x multiple on the top line revenue. While this is like wildly higher, right? I mean, we're like it's so Vodafone made an amazing, amazing identification here because this portfolio that Mannesmann owned at this time coupled so nicely with what they were already doing. And they were able to get a huge amount of value for not that much. Okay. Now, this deal had these representing investment bankers. Okay. Vodafone was represented by Morgan Stanley. Mannesmann was represented by Goldman Sachs and UBS Warburg. Okay. This $202.8 billion deal, it's hard, like we can't verify this really online, but there was a fee of about $1.9 billion that was kind of distributed across mostly Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, and then I think a little bit less towards UBS. But that's just upon the completion of the deal. That's like 9 months worth of work for these firms, right? So this is how this works, guys. This is M&A, and if you're able to identify these types of deals and write about them, this is something it's very strange, this type of business, because technically speaking, you can do this. Like this is if you understand the mechanics behind the things that I'm trying to describe to you in this video, you can go ahead and start on your own. All right? So, do it. Do it, babe. You guys are awesome. Let's keep doing these. If you learned something here. All right? Let me know what you want to learn next. See you guys.